Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for this wonderful conference, to the amazing organizers. And so today I'm going to be comparing certain diets and eating plans that my patients have been experimenting with. I'm not necessarily endorsing all of them, but I'm going to go over them just to give you food for thought. I have no disclosures. So, are you confused? Have you been reading lots of things, hearing lots of things, trying many, many different diet programs? Should you eat carbohydrates? Should they be high carbohydrates? Should they be low carbohydrates? Protein, should it be high protein or low protein? Fats, high fat, low fat, bacon, good fat. What is a good fat? What is a bad fat? What would be good for you to do? So these are some of the, what we call healthy fats: avocados, nuts, salmon. These are the bad carbs. We kick them away. And actually you'll find that in all of the programs, the diet plans that I'm submitting, we're all saying not to eat these processed foods, these fast foods, these packaged foods. Are you wondering why your diet might not be helping you to lose weight? Are you using trial and error to find the right supplements? Or you can't figure out why specific foods disrupt your digestion? We're going to explore some of the diets that many patients are experimenting with, and the role of healthy fats and fat metabolism, and how this relates to the lymphatic system, fatigue, memory difficulties, depression, and anxiety. And Chuck's already gone over a lot of wonderful things about the gut microbiome and how these foods will affect our moods. We'll discuss personalized nutrition and nutrigenomics, the study of how foods affect our genes, or how our genes will determine what food we eat. We will examine the pros and cons of intermittent fasting to lose weight and to improve health. So, the fat disorder patient, as you know, faces many, many challenges and struggles. I myself have lipedema and have worked with it for 25 years and really improved my condition, and I'm 3 pant sizes less than I was 25 years ago. So I've followed a really, really good program. I'm very, very strict with what I do, but I love food. People love coming to my home. I'm a great cook, and there's always healthy food. So this is not about restriction. Lipedema, well, we know what it is. I'm not going to go over that. But lasting weight reduction by changing the diet is difficult to achieve, and it doesn't appreciably affect the pain. So we need to look at something that's going to help with that. There are 2 diets that are pretty popular. Well, they're not really diets, they're eating plans. The ketogenic, which my esteemed colleague Leslie will be speaking about a little later. They both have weight loss benefits. They help with reducing inflammation and help with chronic diseases such as lipedema and Dercum's, boost immunity, and aid recovery from autoimmune diseases, and are linked to improved mental clarity and energy. So the ketogenic diet aims to push your body into ketosis, which is a state in which your body burns fat. It's a high fat, 70% fat, low carbohydrate, 10%, moderate protein, 20%, and no grains, no processed foods, no sugar, no nuts, no hydrogenated oils such as margarine, and no fruit. There's a lot of food, protein, fats, cheese, cream cheese, butter, meat, and then vegetable oils. Then we have the Paleolithic diet. And this is based on the hunter-gatherer, where man would go and hunt for his food. Recent studies are actually showing that ancient man actually ate a more plant-based diet than is being put forth by this program, but this is the caveman diet. An ancient man ate what was available to him. There were vegetables, eggs, fish, there was fowl, there was wild meats and nuts. There were no grains or dairy available at that time. And unfortunately now our modern diet has brought in processed foods, packaged foods, refined sugars and dairy. Ancient man did not eat any of those. And here is an example what is on a Paleolithic diet. Many of the patients are following this diet and have done really, really well on this. However, it is a lot of meat in this diet. So there are vegetables, fruits, but only really the tart fruits, nuts, wild meats, and chicken and eggs and coconut oil. What's not in the paleo diet is refined processed foods, sugar, candy bars, sweets, fruit juices, grains, GMC foods, extracted seed oils, and dairy. And many of these things in our anti-inflammatory book that we put in our diet that we recommend, we recommend avoiding these as well. So you'll find a lot of the diet programs avoid many of these foods. So summary, Paleolithic diet is high protein, moderate fat, moderate carbohydrate, but no gluten. Lean protein, meat, fish, vegetables, moderate fruit, nuts, seeds, wild berries, and wild plants. Healthy fats, nuts, seeds, avocado, and grass-fed meat. Plant-based oils, such as walnut, avocado, coconut oil. No dairy, no grains, no sugar, no processed foods. And the carbs will be medium to low. Protein is high. And minimal lentils, peanuts, beans, and other legumes. I'm going to confuse you even more, aren't I? The GAPS diet is a pretty wonderful diet for people who have gut dysbiosis or are having severe gut problems. There are several stages to this diet, and there are practitioners who are GAPS practitioners, and you need to be guided through this. But it's to treat chronic inflammatory conditions in the digestive tract as a result of a damaged gut lining. And inflammatory bowel disease, ulcerative colitis and leaky gut, autoimmune disease. It helps with AGH and depression and anxiety because this helps to restore the microbiome, which you just heard about. It focuses on removing foods that are difficult to digest and damaging to the gut flora. It replaces with nutrient-dense foods to give the intestinal lining a chance to heal and seal, because there has been this leaky gut and dysbiosis, so we need to actually heal the intestine. And it helps with low energy, or helps with people who have low energy, joint pain, thyroid disease, autoimmune conditions, and slow metabolism, because these all could be leaky gut progressions. Fermented foods are a mainstay in this program. Fermented vegetables, sauerkraut, which is naturally fermented, and then bone broth. And this has become really, really popular, where you actually take bones and you cook them for hours, and you get all the minerals and the gelatin out of the bones. I think they should be from organic meat. And that supports immune function, and it's rich in calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, and gelatin, and supports digestive health, and promotes a healthy sleep. Interestingly enough, when I was raised in South Africa, my mother always made soup that she cooked for hours, and she would put bones in the soup. And the same with chicken. The chicken would go in and would cook for hours. So we were eating bone broth and without us really realizing, and helping our healthy guts. So this is phase 1 of GAPS, and as I mentioned, there are many phases, but for this time I couldn't show them all. But good quality fat, broth, easily digested vegetables, boiled meats, and the juice of fermented vegetables. So it's much stricter right in the beginning. And once the symptoms no longer appear or they dissipated, then you add additional fruits, such foods like fruit and raw vegetables and their juices and nuts and nut flours are slowly added until you've reached the full GAPS diet. It also allows most wholesome foods, but still excludes grains and starchy tubers and sugars except for honey, and other foods that can potentially damage an already compromised gut. If you are going to eat honey, ideally it's raw honey. So this is the book that was written by Dr. Campbell McBride, Gut and Psychology Syndrome, which is GAPS. So just to summarize, avoiding no processed foods, avoid grains, processed sugar and refined carbohydrates, starchy carbohydrates and potatoes, artificial chemicals and preservatives, and conventional meat and dairy. That is avoided. Try to buy foods in the form that nature made them, as fresh as possible, is what Dr. Campbell says. There is a controversy over this because there are no clinical trials evaluating its efficacy. However, we know that 80% of the human immune system is housed in the gut, and so it makes sense to do this. And I know many patients who have been following this and have done really, really well. There's another crazy diet that's emerged now, and many of you might have found it. I've got a few patients coming and asking me about this diet, and that's a bulletproof diet. It's similar, it's actually a pretty good diet. It focuses on quality and on the quality and quantity of your food. So 50 to 70% of the food is fat and a moderate to high protein consumption. A bulletproof diet includes nutrient-dense, high-quality food to feed your body at a cellular level. There's no chemicals. They focus on how your food is prepared or cooked, to cook the food very gently and avoid overcooking so that you have all the nutrients. And then it tells you the right type of food to eat and when to eat it and how to cook it. Actually, they offer a lot of intermittent fasting, which I'm going to talk about later, and starting the day with coffee, but it's a special coffee with green coffee beans and putting butter or whey or ghee into the coffee. And it has moderate amounts, this is the summary of fats, 50 to 70% including butter, moderate amounts of high-quality protein, high amounts of organic vegetables eaten at the right time, and then the bulletproof coffee. The Mediterranean diet, which is always a very, very healthy diet, very easy, very sustainable, easy when you travel, consists of fruits, nuts, vegetables, olive oil, beans, legumes, and whole grains. Moderate in alcohol and lean red meat, and eliminates processed meat, refined carbohydrates, and whole fat dairy. That looks pretty yummy. And then there's the anti-inflammatory diet, which we have in our book, the Nutrition Guide. Grains and starches you will see are right at the top of the pyramid, because we do believe in fruits and vegetables, low-fat protein, monosaturated fat, all with high quality. If you are going to be eating meat, it should be limited and it should be pasture-fed, and the butter should be from from pasture-fed as well. So the anti-inflammatory diet actually quenches inflammation, and Chuck went over a lot of these things, so I'll go over it really quickly. But a diet high in vegetables, fish, and fruit, omega fatty acids with chia seed, avocados, and olives. And you can have low glycemic carbohydrates, which are high in fiber, which also help the gut microbiome, quinoa beans, and lentils. Good fiber helps the gut health. And then our healthy fats again, and patients should avoid refined carbohydrates and sugar, and limit intake of table salt and grains. Actually, if you have Celtic or Himalayan salt, it's a very different effect on the body than table salt, which is sodium chloride. And then the imbalance of the gut microbiota is the starting place of inflammation. You heard from this previous speaker about the influence of the microbiome on the gut. And I'm going to talk specifically on acid reflux. And so the gut microbiota will affect the brain. It will affect the way we I'm going to go a little bit faster now, the way we digest foods, and these are foods to support the gut microbiome. But it is estimated that 60 million Americans have heartburn at least once a month. This can be helped not only with the little purple pill and with all the tablets to help with acid reflux, but by diet and by following everything that will feed your microbiome. I have helped people with acid reflux with a healthy diet. And studies have found that inflammation is linked to the development of GERD because it causes tissue damage and dysfunction in the esophagus. So tools for the GERD, and many of my patients do have acid reflux. Balance your microbiome, have organic fresh vegetables, probiotics, healthy fats, apple cider vinegar, aloe vera, parsley, ginger, and fennel can be very helpful. Eliminate or reduce grains and sugar. You're hearing that in all the the programs to eliminate that, and eat high-quality protein and reduce your refined vegetable oils. Medium-chain triglycerides play a really important role because they lessen the lymph load, and they bypass the gut. They don't go through the cilia. Long-chain fatty acids are absorbed through the cilia in the gut, in the small intestine, and short-chain fatty acids bypass the intestine, and they go directly to the liver, and so there is less of a load on the lymphatic system, gives you energy. The healthy fats also are given recognition for direct action on the brain. So a diet high in omega-3 fatty acids supports cognitive processes. Many of the Dercum's patients have brain fog, so we want to work with that as well. Intermittent fasting. I have actually been working with this for myself. There's been quite a lot of research on this, and it's a scheduled eating plan. And what you do, you eat your last day of the meal of the day around 6 o'clock, which is very hard for some people, and then you don't eat anything else until about 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock the next day, and that actually gets your body into ketosis. You cannot do this if you're eating a diet full of processed foods. And so check that out. It actually normalizes ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, and increases energy by burning fat, and also helps to suppress inflammation and fight free radical damage. So I encourage you to look further at this. So how do you decide what is the best plan for you? Do you just read it up online? Do you go onto a chat room? Do you listen to your friend? Really, an individualized food plan is best, specific to your conditions. What else is going on? What stage are you in? What condition do you have? What underlying conditions do you have? Do you have thyroid imbalance? Do you have fibromyalgia? What other conditions do you have? Do you have leaky gut, thyroid imbalance? Do you have adrenal fatigue? Many of the patients do. Do you have poor sleep quality? Are you constipated? Do you follow a plan just because you've heard of it on a chat room? You are an individual with specific needs and your own challenges. And the only way to really figure out what foods may be giving you problems is to use your body as a testing ground. And that's what I did. And that's how I came up 25 years ago with the way that I eat. And that's right for me. And it means eliminating suspect foods. An elimination diet is usually done for 3 weeks, and then methodically and slowly adding them back in. Personalized medicine is identifying the underlying issues for an individual, taking the knowledge of your biochemistry, genetics, health history, environmental factors, toxin exposures, nutrient deficiencies, and food reactions. And these can be done by lab testing, symptoms, a food diary. I like all my patients to keep a food diary, clinical intake and observation, and seek the guidance of a health practitioner. So now we have this exciting field that's emerging, and it's called nutrigenomics. And nutrigenomics is the study between nutrition and a person's genes. And hopefully at the next conference, we'll be able to present even more on this. It examines how nutrients impact our genes and how our genes impact specific reactions to specific nutrients, and why our bodies may be struggling with detoxing or metabolizing. So if you understand genetic weaknesses and optimize nutrition, you can then create a path to better health. So I want to thank you very, very much. I hope you're not even more confused than you were before, but I hope this is just food for thought and to look within to see what's right for you.